Are you tired of the marketing guessing game? Does your website feel more like a digital billboard than a client magnet? If you're nodding along, you're not alone. And it's time to stop the uncertainty and start getting real results. Let's talk about your marketing spend. Are you just shelling out money every month and crossing your fingers? Do you ever wonder what impact your marketing is really having on your revenue? Well, it's time to take the guesswork out of the equation with Rise Up Media. We've been working with them for over a year, and the feedback from our fellow members has been fantastic. Rise Up Media is here to take your marketing to the next level. They'll even perform a full audit of your online presence, giving you the good, the bad, and even let you in on what your competition is up to that you're missing out on. And the best part, there's no obligation, no catch, no pressure. If you decide to work with them, their contracts are month to month. That's right. No long-term commitments tying you down. So what are you waiting for? To learn more about how Rise Up Media can transform your firms, visit riseupmedia.com/maxlaw, and Rise is spelled with a Z. riseupmedia.com/maxlaw.
This is Maximum Lawyer with your host, Tyson Mutrix.
All right, Adam, we've had you on before, and so I'm not going to go and ask you all the background questions and everything. I'm just going to jump right in. And you had posted this Facebook post. I'm going to read part of it, and I think the wording on it, it makes me crack up a little bit. Because you start it with attention competitors, which I think is fantastic. But I was telling you right before we started, I saw this. I messaged back. I was like, we gotta get Adam on the show. But you said, okay, so 12 weeks ago, Christy Schlatt. How do you say that last name?
Got to be Zlatkis. It's fun. I've never asked.
Zlatkis. Okay, Christy Zlatkis, and I was gonna say Schlatkis, but Zlatkis, and I made a friendly wager, a personal branding contest. We check the final scores tomorrow, but honestly, I'm not even obsessed with who won because the journey already paid off. My social media following is up 25% in 12 weeks. We pushed each other harder than we would have alone. We even talked about it on Maverick Mindset Radio. On that show, Christy challenged me to take this further, so we are. We're extending the contest through 2026 and opening it up to a small group of others. Fair warning, we're being picky. So I'll get into the rest later. We don't need to read all of it. That's the idea of it. Okay, this is amazing. Really, really cool. And I can tell you, I have noticed, and before this post, I had noticed a significant difference in your posts and the frequency and all that kind of stuff. So, I mean, obviously you had the friendly wager, but what triggered this though? What was the impetus?
I think there are a lot of entrepreneurial law firm owners that think they should have a personal brand. I think that seed gets planted with many of us. But like anything in life, right? Like you think about it, you know you got to do it. It's like that pair of pants in your closet that you go to button it one day and it's just a little too tight. And it's like, all right, now I'm going to do something about this. And for us, frankly, part of it was the Maximum Lawyer Conference because there was a lot of talk about YouTube and personal brands. And Christy, who's a friend of mine, texted me and had some questions. It was like a Friday evening. And I'm like, you know what? Let's do it. Let's go head to head. 12 weeks through the end of the year and see who can grow the most followers. And you saw me post more frequently. I hope that the posting that I was putting out was higher quality. And even bigger than that, like Christy had been planning a podcast for 5 years. And this was finally the thing that got her to go and do it. So I think for both of us, it was just this moment of like, you know, a little friendly competition could do us some good. So that's why we did that.
What were the rules of the contest? I'm very curious about this too.
You know, that's funny because of course that's immediately what the lawyers jumped into. So we were doing five social media platforms and just an increase in follower account. And we agreed that we wouldn't spend any money boosting or promoting posts. That was one of our early agreements. This year, we actually changed that rule because we realized we were kind of hamstringing ourselves a little bit. But that was it. Every other rule was self-imposed. I told myself I was not going to go do dances on TikTok just to grow the follower count. I'm not sure if that would have helped me or not, but I decided I wasn't going to do that. So yeah, it was the rules of engagement were somewhat limited. The real issue was the reward that we agreed on. That's where we spent the most time negotiating what was going to happen here.
All right. Well, don't tell me what it is yet. Let's tease that part. Let's tease what that, because I don't know what it is, but I hopefully I'm not overhyping it, but don't tell me what it is. Let's tease it a little bit. Now, was it you had to use the same five platforms, or could you choose your own five?
So we were going for follower account, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and TikTok was the fifth one. Yeah. We just decided those are, probably the most popular ones. We didn't get into Twitter or Reddit or Threads or any of the other stuff. So yeah, we just agreed that those were the 5 platforms, and it was percentage increase in follower count.
Where did you see the most improvement? Which platform?
As a percentage, it was YouTube. I did double my subscriber count. Overall numbers, I think I had the biggest increase on Facebook, which was interesting because that was already where I had the biggest following. I think that ended up maybe only being a 10% increase, but it was hundreds of people that we added.
There's something about Facebook's algorithm within the last 6 months I've noticed where like I was getting messages like, it looks like your posts, they lead to a lot of engagement. We're increasing your engagement or something like I was getting like those. So I'm assuming you're probably getting those things too. So they must have been going through some algorithm changes because we've sort of seen something similar when it comes to posting on Facebook. Have you seen an ability to tie the investment into a platform into some sort of ROI?
Yes, ironically. I mean, we're talking small numbers here, right? I have a few thousand Facebook followers. We're not talking about millions of followers, but because I was somewhat intentional about the stuff I was posting about, yeah, it led to more leads and more clients because I'm top of mind with people. So yeah, we can tie back to that ROI. And the reason that we engage for another 12 months is we're realizing, man, we're just scratching the surface. 12 weeks is nothing to grow a follower count. So if we commit to this for 12 months, we should see some even greater results.
All right. So what's that game? I'm not going to say it. FMK, where you marry one, you kill one, and then the other one. By the way, this was not one of my planned questions, but if you were to FMK, and if you don't know what that means, Google it.
Yep.
Which would you would you marry? Which one would you kill?
I'm currently effing YouTube. With the fourth quarter competition, I was posting pretty consistently on all the platforms, and I decided for this year to go all in on YouTube. So that's primarily where I'm focused. I hired a really big time vendor to help me grow the following there. So I'm all over YouTube. I think that is the best platform for the type of content that I want to put out and the type of people that we want to attract. And this is free good advice to anybody thinking about doing this. You can post on Facebook and have a post go viral and it's dead in a week. Whereas with YouTube, a video that you put up 5 years ago could still be getting views. So it's got a longer tail. The way the algorithm works, where it's more search engine based versus the algorithm that just puts angry political posts in front of you, I think it's a lot more effective. So yeah, I'm dating very seriously YouTube right now. I guess I'm getting ready to get married to YouTube. As far as which one I would kill, the contest this year, we actually added Reddit to the mix.
Oh, wow.
I am still very much of the opinion that the people on Reddit are living in their mom's basements for the most part. I'm sure I'm going to get some angry messages about that. I just don't think that that's our target.
Yeah. We
have some other family law attorneys that are in the contest now, and they think that Reddit could be great for them. I'm not convinced of that. I think for the type of stuff that we do, it's a lot of do-it-yourselfers. It's a lot of people that are going to try and do this, get some information and get their question answered for free and try and DIY it. And I just don't think that's for us.
Okay, so you get rid of Reddit. Now, Reddit wasn't one of the core 5 though, right?
It wasn't the first time around. No, we added Reddit.
All right, so I'm going to make you get rid of one of the core 5. Which one are you going to get rid of? I'm very curious about the answer on this one, by the way. This is the one I care about the most, really.
This is interesting because I'm going to say Instagram because I think Facebook does everything that Instagram does better. And I've put a lot of time into Instagram and we're not seeing as many results there. So I had a couple of videos that went really big, a couple 100,000 views in the fourth quarter, and didn't turn into much for us. Didn't really increase the follower count. So it's like you can have something that hits, but it doesn't turn into anything. So I'd probably take Instagram out of the mix.
All right, so YouTube more long term, get rid of Instagram, and then so the one that's more of I'd say the F is more of like a short term. It's like maybe hot now and maybe not a long term thing. So or maybe we can even say it's sexy now, but maybe not in the future. So is there one that I'm hoping you'll say TikTok, but I don't know if you will. So I'm curious which one it would be.
If I had to pick one, that's the one where I think there's the most uncertainty. That's as soon as the politicians get involved, That is what I would call a stroke of the pen issue that politicians can get involved in. With the stroke of a pen, that thing is gone, right? Because they don't like it. They don't like the Chinese ownership or whatever. I know they've tried to do some things to fix that, but that's the one that I feel like it's the least stable, or it has at least the least amount of certainty with what's going to happen in the future with that.
And I wonder, maybe this question might apply based on each platform, but are there any like do's and don'ts that you can think of? Or like, okay, I made these mistakes, don't do this again. Can you talk about that a little bit?
So I think one of the things that I did that was successful is I went into ChatGPT early on and said, help me decide what my 5 pillars, right? Or what are the things that I'm going to talk about consistently? Because, I'm not going to post pictures of my food. I'm not going to do silly TikTok dances. I'm not going to rage bait people. But what are the things that I should be talking about? And my ChatGPT knows me pretty well, and it helped me formulate some of that. And now after building those pillars, it will also help me create some of the posts that I put out as well. And that's been really helpful. So I think being very confident in who you are and what the message is that you want to preach, I think is really important. The moment you become disingenuous, I think people pick up on that. And I don't know if you've noticed this, but people on the internet are really mean.
Really? No way.
Yeah. Shocking. I know. So yeah, I think that was I don't know if that's a do or a don't. Do stay true to yourself and understand what you're about and what you want to talk about. Don't fake it. Don't do things that you don't genuinely believe in just to increase the follower count. Because really at the end of the day, yes, we're measuring follower count. That's what the competition is based on. But I'm more interested in quality followers that are going to engage in the content and want to hear more of the stuff that I'm trying to say, rather than just people that are going to follow me because I did something funny one time.
Some of my favorite Facebook posts are from Mark Lopez. And Mark Lopez, he will post comments that are like mean comments. I think it's freaking hilarious because I like how he embraces it. You're like, screw off. It's funny. I wonder if you get any consistent comments. I get, this is AI. And I'm thinking like, what am I saying that makes it seem like it's AI? I wonder if you get anything like that.
It's less about that. I mean, I tell AI to make it sound less like AI, and then I always put my touch on it. I put a post up yesterday on Facebook. It has 755 comments on it right now.
What?
Many of them are not kind. And it's kind of funny because I've seen other influencers who will take the comments and it'll be like the face behind the comment, right? So it's like, oh, you're fat and lazy and broke. And then you look at their profile picture and it's like, yeah, bro, appreciate your feedback, but I'm not gonna take that from you because I've seen what you're working with over there.
So I'm pulling this up. Is it a video or is it what's the basis of this?
So I have an electric vehicle, and the state of Pennsylvania started this new thing where they're going to charge you a $250 road use tax if you have an electric vehicle. So I posted the video and I said, this is kind of BS because we're tax planners. That's our business, right? And here I am, I pay tax on my income, I pay tax on my house, I pay tax on the electricity, but because they're not getting the fuel tax because of the car that I drive to fix our roads, which are in horrible shape, they whacked us with another $250 this year just for the heck of it. It was $200 last year. There's some strong language in some of those comments. And it's really funny because now people are arguing in the comments with each other because I realized, hey, there's a bunch of people I don't know commenting on this thing, and I don't need to fight with these people. So now they can call each other mean names and debate tax policy, which is really fun.
I think it's really interesting. So, and I'm going to ask you about these hashtags in a second because you say, just got my invoice for a $250 road user charge because my EV doesn't pay fuel tax. So let's ignore the income tax on the money used to buy it, the property tax where it's stored, and the tax on the electricity to charge it. And now I'm charged for using the roads too. Pennsylvania EV owners, how are you feeling about this? And then you put hashtag Tesla EV, ID Buzz, BV, all these things. It's interesting. I read that and I'm thinking like, hell yeah, Adam, like that's bull crap. And so I'm very curious. I don't know if I want to open the comments, to be honest with you. The people that are like anti, because that's wild to me. As someone that drives an EV myself, I'm an owner of 3 EVs, and I'm on your side with this. But when it comes to the hashtags, what's up with the hashtags? Is that a technique that works?
I've never found the magic with hashtags. I just threw them on there because this was originally posted on Instagram and cross-posted to Facebook. And I knew Tesla had a lot of people that follow that hashtag, so I figured I'd throw it out there. I drive the Volkswagen ID Buzz. Looks like the old bus.
Okay.
So I know that there are other people that have seen my post because I use that hashtag. But yeah, the final hashtag on there is one of my favorite sayings, which is hashtag every government program should be a GoFundMe. That makes it voluntary and you can decide what you actually want to contribute to. Not a lot of people follow that hashtag, but I just threw them on there. I have not had any success figuring out the magic with hashtags, but I do think it can help influence the algorithm a little bit just to point it in the direction of EV owners. Ironically, there's a lot of dudes in jean shorts and white New Balance sneakers that clearly drive Corvettes that have also seen this post. So
I love how comments when they start like this. First off, I can't get over how a lot of people just line up to pay more taxes. You know what? That's kind of how I feel, to be honest with you. All right, so let me ask you, do you read the comments? Do you normally go through and read all the comments?
So usually I do because I don't get that many. With this post, I don't know what it was. I have not seen them all. You know, I have the alerts shut off on my phone and stuff, so I don't see the notifications. But yeah, when I went in this morning and checked, and I'm like, I definitely did not read all of those comments. And I'm kind of glad I don't. One of the other videos that I posted in the fourth quarter, I had an author on our podcast and kind of a niche thing. He wrote a book about the Edmund Fitzgerald, which is something I just geeked out about because it was the 50th anniversary. So this guy came on our show and he published this book, and it is his fourth or fifth New York Times best-selling book.
Oh my gosh.
So I asked him, like, how do you deal with the 1-star reviews on Amazon, right? You pour your heart and soul into these books, and they're all nonfiction. He's got great leadership books and books about sports and coaches and things like that. This one was a little bit different for him. And I was like, how do you deal with that? And he's like, you just accept the fact that they're inevitable. And yes, someone is going to read this book and give it a 1-star review. And it's just what happens. And that was good. I mean, I don't take a lot of things personally, but it was a good reminder on that of like, yeah, you know what? This stuff is going to happen. There are angry people out there, particularly when they're sitting on the other side of a keyboard and not standing in front of my face. So yeah, I don't have time for all that stuff.
Amazing how removing that screen and keyboard changes the way they operate themselves. So that's really interesting. Something I noticed about your posts is that, at least more recently, and maybe it's just my algorithm, they're mostly text-based, but I feel like early on you had more videos that you were playing around with some AI, and maybe I'm wrong about that, but at least that's what I remember. So
Yep.
What is the mix between putting up an image, putting up text, putting up video? Have you even thought about that?
From what I've seen, videos get a lot more interaction on every platform. I think that straight text posts I think platforms don't incentivize that as much. They don't put as much of that content out there. They want you to watch the videos because I think they want that engagement, and they can throw some ads in there and monetize it a little bit. So I've had a lot more success with videos for sure than still images or with text. But I don't know. I test it out. I'll post something without an image or with a video or whatever and see what happens. But from what I've seen, the videos are a lot more effective.
So this question is a little bit of a selfish question, but it will help other people because we are putting on a video workshop in Chicago. Jeff Hampton's going to come out and speak, and we're going to invite some other people out to put on the workshop and everything. And I wonder if there's anything you think we should focus on. Like, what are the things that people need to learn in order to put on really good videos?
Oh man, we're going to get into some woo-woo mindset stuff.
Okay, great. Love it.
But some people don't like to record videos because they don't have the world's most perfect camera and the studio, and it isn't perfectly scripted, and we're lawyers, so we want everything to be perfect and error-free, but that's not what people actually want. I'm sitting in this studio that I literally built 2 weeks ago after just saying all of that, but we're going all in on YouTube. My most successful videos are not in our recording studio for our podcast where it looks very professional. They're not on other people's podcasts. It's when I pull out my phone and I'm walking down the street and I record in selfie mode and I stumble over my words and it's imperfect. Those are the ones that we get the most engagement on. People use it as a stopping strategy. They say, well, I can't do video because I've just got my iPhone, or the audio isn't going to be perfect, or that horn honked in the background and nobody's going to want to hear that. I actually think that stuff is even more important now because it's obviously not AI generated. Like, you're a human being. We want that human connection. So any excuse that you have for you're not ready or you don't have the equipment or you don't have the tech, like, it's not rocket science to get started. Open up Instagram, start a story, put the camera in selfie mode and just talk to it. And people love that stuff.
Okay, this maybe seem like a silly question, but do you need to be in the video or can you be recording outwards and talking at the same time?
I guess it depends on what you're filming. I'm pretty sure if you had the choice, if you're hearing me talk and you had the choice between looking at me or looking at, say, my wife, you'd much rather look at my wife, right? Or my dogs. So yeah, I guess it depends on how photogenic you are. So yeah, we've had good success with some videos where we're just walking around the office, or we put somebody else on camera and you sort of have the interviewer in the background. But I I don't know that I'm using this phrase correctly, but there's this concept of UGC, user generated content, and that's pulling out the phone in selfie mode. And that's the stuff, and not just on my accounts, but across the board, that's the stuff that gets the most engagement right now.
Okay, so something, and I've never actually, it's weird that I've personally never seen someone doing this in like a grocery store or something, but I do find it very awkward where I've at least considered doing it. And sometimes I'll be like on like FaceTime with my kids or my wife, and I'm wondering if people are thinking I'm recording or something, but I do find it kind of odd. Like I'll watch these videos where someone's in a grocery store and they've had to have like propped the camera up on a shelf or something. And so like, do you go that far or, and like how, and I do have a problem getting mentally over that part of it if you're going that far. So help me out.
Well, first of all, stop going to the grocery store and just Instacart everything.
Fair.
But outside of that, like I said, I'm a big proponent of 75 hard, which means I have to do a 45-minute workout every day. So I record a lot of videos then, and I live in the middle of nowhere, so none of the neighbors are seeing me walk down the street holding my camera in front of me. If you've got something, this goes back to like really believing in your truth and what you want to talk about. If you've got something you want to share with the world, then pull out your camera and record it. Who cares who's standing around watching you? Because we all do it. We all want to put that stuff out there.
Okay, so let me ask you about 75 hard. This is interesting. By the way, well played with the wife comment. That's smart. We'll got to clip that and send it to her. But so Jimmy, I'll say congrats to Jimmy. He just finished 75 hard yesterday. Yesterday was his last day. So congrats. I'm assuming, Jim, you got it. You finished the day out. You texted me earlier in the day. But are you in the middle 75 hard?
I'm on like day 3 or 4 right now. I made it to 22 and failed. So I started over.
Wow. So what's really cool. So I'm sure people are sick of me talking about 75 hard at this point, but I'm a firm believer in it as well. Amy and I, we did 75 hard. It's so funny. I mentioned 75 hard earlier today on another episode. So people are gonna be like, gosh, shut up. But we did 75 hard. We did phases 1, 2, and 3. And it is so cool. Wait till you get to the phase where you have to talk to a random person. It is the funnest thing.
Dude, I did that in 2024. That phase 3 for the whole Live Hard program, it becomes a full-time job.
Yes.
You're like, I got to talk to a stranger. I got to do a random act of kindness. I'm like, holy crap. Like this is taking all of my focus. So yeah, I don't know that I'm ever going to do the full program again, but it's a great exercise. I mean, and I'm generally introverted. So that part was really tough for me.
All right. So you've already gone through the full thing, right? How hard is it? Because I have considered doing it again, but I'm like, do I want to go through this whole thing again? So how hard is it to start up again?
It depends on what's going on in your life. So like when I failed, I knew I had to get it done. And for me, like, yes, I get in better physical shape, but anytime my wife and I are struggling in the business, some stuff's going on that we're just, you know, the moments where you just feel like you're getting kicked in the face every single day. That's usually when we do phase 1, which is the one that requires cold showers. And it's like, well, that's it. You got 5 minutes of a cold shower. We're going to allow you to complain during that 5 minutes, and then you got to get back to it. So as far as mental toughness goes, I mean, it's very easy to start. My challenge is I've done it I've been doing 75 hard for 5 years. I know I can do it. So like, it isn't really challenging. I don't have to prove anything to anyone. So it does get easier to sort of quit, you know, if you get busy or have things going on. I made it to day 68 once, and we were in Napa, and we went to a winery with some friends, and I'm like, it's over. Like, I can't do this anymore. I got a week left. I know I can do it. I got some wine to drink. So.
Wow. That's a big decision. I don't think I could have, I don't think I could have done that. That's kudos to you for actually having the strength to say, I'll just start over again. That's actually, I think that's harder than just continue with the program. So kudos. All right, so let's get back to the video stuff. What about like scripts and ideas? Walk me through that. How do you generate ideas? How do you use scripts? What about that?
So I've been looking at what a lot of other people are doing, especially in the tax strategy space. There are influencers out there that do a lot of this stuff. I've got a slightly different spin on every single thing that they talk about. So I look at their videos. Frankly, I look at the ones that are doing well because I know it's topics that are interesting to people. So I'm not trying to reinvent the wheel here. The other thing that we do is we've got transcripts from all of our sales calls and all of our client calls. So we can use AI to pull themes out of that and topics that people are really interested in. I'm not good at following a script. I did a video yesterday for YouTube that was about 12 minutes long where I did use the teleprompter, but the shorts, the 1 to 2 minute things, I give myself some bullet points and I just riff on it. And that's a lot easier for me. The other thing is I've now hired experts to help me with this, right? I'm working with a company that they are really good at growing YouTube channels. So they're giving me a lot of guidance on what the hook needs to be. And they create the thumbnail images and the descriptions and all of this stuff. So that's making my life a little bit easier. But I guess that's always the story of hiring experts.
Yeah. What sorts of tools are you using that at least prior to hiring the experts, what sort of tools were you using to help you produce the content, edit videos, things like that?
Yeah, so for videos we used Opus. We've used Descript a little bit too, but Opus is so easy. You dump a video in there, it edits it, it captions it, it does a pretty good job. That just makes things faster, so we use that quite a bit. I spend a lot of time in ChatGPT, so like I have some custom GPTs that I built. It knows my voice and I say, here's the topic, help me come up with an angle on this thing to be a little more efficient with it. So use a lot of ChatGPT, and then I'm doing a lot of AI stuff right now. I'm working on an app, not like the cell phone app, but sort of an automation where I'll be able to drop a video that I record in selfie mode into a Google Drive, and it'll transcribe it. It'll write a LinkedIn post. It'll write a Facebook caption. It'll write an Instagram caption, and then I can just copy and paste and put them on all the different platforms. So taking one piece of content and automating it so it turns into 5 or 6 or 7 more has been really helpful.
That's what's so cool about I think vibe coding and everything these days. You can build out your own apps to do things like that, which is such a cool thing. It is so awesome. I mean, you have all the tools you need. You can use ChatGPT, you can use Claude, whatever to add any additional coding that you might need. I think that it's just really it's really amazing the things you can do. Now, a big part of this was the personal branding. And I don't know how you're going to answer this question, but what do you think that people associate with your name right now that you've gone through all this, this whole challenge?
That's a good question. What would I like them to associate with my name? So I think for me, I talk a lot about entrepreneurship and the struggles and the difficulties, and it's never easy, but it's worth it if you do it right. So there's a lot of content around that. There's a lot of mindset content. That's the podcast that I do once a week. We talk a lot about that stuff. So it's kind of some motivational things. And I mentioned that first because I think that is the most number of messages that I get. I got a really nice written thank you card from a guy that listens to our podcast the other day that was like really flattering. So I think that's a big one. I'm talking a lot about tax stuff, obviously, because that's our business. And we're going to be doing more of that content. So I think I get associated with that a lot. And then, airplanes and race cars, because those are my other interests. So actually, I talk about my family and my kids a lot too, which I think is really important to me. And I kind of dismiss that one, but I forget, my wife and I have been married for going on 19 years, and we have 2 kids. And it's really important for us to like make sure the business integrates with our family lives and we do cool stuff with our kids. I post a lot about that, and not in a bragging way, but just in a way to show like, hey, it's possible that you can do this. A lot of the influencers that I follow, whether they're in the tax space or coaching space or entrepreneurial space, I really struggle with the people that give you this advice to hustle and grind and work harder if they don't have kids, because it's like, or an intact marriage for that matter, because it's like, hey, like I got other pressures in my life that I don't want to be at the office 24/7, out working everybody, because I want my kids to think I'm cool and I want them to grow up to be smart, productive, independent adults. So I'm going to focus on that too.
Yeah, that's something I've kind of learned over the years where like I'm not going to take diet advice from someone that looks unhealthy. I'm just not. I'm sorry. And so I've sort of come to that same conclusion where I'm not going to take business advice from you if you've run a bunch of businesses into the ground. Especially I've been like front seat to the evolution of coaches in this industry and how everyone was an expert. And I think over the last few years, I think people have finally caught on to the charlatans that are out there and you see them come and go. I mean, I can't tell you how many I've seen come and go when it comes to, quote unquote experts that come in and they pitch the world to law firm owners, and then they do a terrible job, and next thing you know, they're gone, their reputation's gone, and they've done who knows? There's a couple people that come to my mind right now that I'm kind of wondering where they are because I've not seen them in a while. But do you position yourself more as like a tax expert in your posts? And if so, how do you, because what I like about your posts, and they do lead to a lot of engagement, it seems, almost all of them are relatable in some way, which I think is very cool. So how do you try to position yourself as an expert? And if so, how do you do it? And then how do you also, I'm very curious as to how you are are able to make all of these posts so relatable? Because and maybe I'm just part of your target market. I don't know, but
that's it. You and I have a lot in common, right? I'm not intentionally targeting you, but I talk about stuff that I think is cool that you think, and you just happen to think it's cool. But the question about the positioning yourself is a great question. So I studied what particularly tax influencers have done. And on one end of the spectrum, there are these like just condescending jerks who they take other influencers' posts and say, here's a million reasons why this person's wrong and why they're an idiot, and here's the rules that you need to follow. And then on the other end of the spectrum, there's people that give you just enough information to make it really sexy and exciting without telling you how difficult it is, right? So, hey, I'm going to show you that you can write off your Rolex in your business. Great. It's going to be really hard to do that, though. So I position myself a little bit in the middle. I'm very direct. I'm not condescending, but I'm also not selling you a dream. And I didn't come up with this. The vendor that I'm working with came up with this, but I thought they nailed it. It's the smartest guy in the room that doesn't have to tell everybody he's the smartest guy in the room. And it's like, I really like that. Like, yeah, I'm just going to show you, I'm going to demonstrate to you that here's what I know and here's how it can help you, and hope it resonates with you. And is it going to generate as many leads as the guy who's promising the world and saying, basically, let's go commit tax fraud and hope you get away with it? I'm never going to have that guy's following. But on the other hand, the very compliance driven, here are the rules, I am definitely the smartest person because everybody else is wrong. I'm sure that's great for their business as well, but neither of those were approaches that I wanted to take.
Yeah, those aren't the clients you want. So that's probably a smart move. Is there anything that's off limits that you won't talk about on social media?
Oh man, I got a whole list.
Or actually, let me rephrase it, because I'm sure you probably do. Is there anything that you think other people should probably avoid too?
So I have a friend who's got a pretty successful business, marketing adjacent business. And he's very intentional that like he won't talk about politics, right? It's just not what he wants. He knows he could fire people up. He knows it would get people engaged, but he just won't do it. I'm okay talking about politics without getting political, right? I think I can prove to you that both sides are completely, well, I even hate the phrase both sides, but the two opposite ends of the spectrum are completely wrong. And I think I could demonstrate that to you. So I think I'm just really careful about how I approach that. I don't know that anything is off limits. You know what my problem is sometimes I think I overthink things and I'm not capable of filtering all that well. I just kind of spit it out there. So yeah, I don't really have a lot of fear or apprehension on that stuff.
You know, it's interesting. I have the same feelings about the political posts, and it's just so nauseating. It's so funny. The last time I tried to touch on a political topic, I actually thought I took a very reasoned approach, and I know I've since been proven right. I'm still waiting on apologies from people, but it's never going to happen. It had to do with that judge that helped the attorney and her client out the back door. So if anyone, and I was like, I feel like I took a very reasonable approach to it, and I couldn't believe how many people attacked before. I'm like, this is kind of the point of like why I don't think people should really be posting about politics unless that's your thing, is because I feel like I took a very, very reasonable approach. And in any other world, if we're operating in a world of like truth and honesty, everyone would have agreed with me. But it was like wild. People were vicious.
That's a great point, because one of our company's core values is find the truth. So we're very intentional with that. But yeah, I mean, I ordered a burrito on DoorDash yesterday from Chipotle, and it was $33, right?
Oh my gosh.
Added some extra chicken. I'm a good tipper. And then I hit order and I'm thinking, man, $33 for a burrito. I could go on Facebook and complain about this, but I know one of the first 5 comments is going to be, well, keep voting for Democrats and that's what happens, or Republicans or whatever. And it's like, no, it's just a burrito, right? So I didn't bother with that one, because people can find a way to make things political. So
that is the funny thing. Like, you'll see a comment like, how did this get political? I'm talking about brownies. You know what I mean? Like, it's just completely crazy. Okay, so I mean, politics is one of them. How personal do you get with your posts? I know that you said you post about the kids and things like that, but do you ever like kind of like get into the mind of Adam and kind of like your thoughts on certain things? How personal do you get when it comes to things like that?
I try intentionally to avoid politics, but I also try to not seem like an egomaniac, which is hard when you're talking about yourself, I think. And people who don't know me that well think I have a little bit of an ego. People who really know me know I'm like the most modest person, right? That's a joke. So I think I I don't want to come across as a know-it-all again. So I think showing a little bit of like vulnerability, and I think showing a little bit of here's what I know and here's what I wish I could figure out, I think is really helpful. So yeah, I think that's another fair approach that I take. Like I'm nothing if not transparent, or at least I try to be. But I'm really intentional of not trying to be that know-it-all, right? I think that's just the wrong. I don't want people to be attracted to me because I'm a know-it-all. I want people to be attracted to me because I have wisdom and I have experience, but not because I have an answer to every single question, right? I think there's people that position themselves that way.
Yeah, and before there's anyone that comments, Adam was joking about being modest. That was part of the joke. Okay, so we're very clear. So I don't see any comments about it unless you are joking. That I'm okay with it. So I have heard from many people like that they're like their public persona is different than their private persona, and I wonder if yours is different or the same. I wonder because the Adam I've always met, you're the same guy, but I wonder if there's another Adam that I don't know about.
Actually, here's a good one. I am like intensely emotional, and like yes, I get fired up about things, and I get excited or get sad. But like I have friends that know this because they've seen me in rooms. Like I'm a crier, and I don't share that, not because it's like intentional, but it's like I'm not thinking in that moment, wow, I should really capture this moment because it'll resonate with people. So that's probably one that people don't realize is like I'm a really emotional guy. Like I watched Rudy on an airplane the other day, and like I can't stand Notre Dame football, but I was still like, wiping the tears away from my eyes in that closing scene. So I think that's one area where maybe it's not that clear, but anybody who's ever seen me at an event get up to a microphone, they're well aware that I'm an emotional guy.
That's how my dad's very emotional. And it was one of those things where I was talking to my mom yesterday, and I was like, when did Dad become emotional? He wasn't emotional when I was a kid. You know what I mean? Like he definitely was emotional. So I wonder, is that something that has changed as you had kids, or were you always that way?
I think I've probably always been that way. You know what I bet though? I bet there was a path of maturing there where I became more okay with it. Like, growing up a young man, I went to an all boys Catholic high school, right? Where maybe sharing that stuff wouldn't have been, you got to be tough, you got to be strong, you got to be masculine. And yes, I think I'm all those things, but I also think it's like, well, it's okay to be emotional. So that's acceptable too. So yeah, I think maybe I've just allowed myself to be more of that as opposed to like, I don't know that I've changed. I think just my response to it has changed, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
This is a really good therapy session, Tyson. Thank you for this.
I try. I do what I can. It's funny. In my notes, I wrote this quote down, and it's really kind of interesting that it's about the politics and everything. But the quote is it's the George Orwell. In a time of deceit, telling the truth is a revolutionary act. And it's funny. I didn't reference it before, but I actually wrote it down for this next question because I wonder why you think attorneys do this. I think they lie to themselves because they say they've got to build a personal brand and they just never do it. And so either you're lying that you think you need the personal brand, or you're lying about the reasons that you shouldn't be doing what you should be doing. So I just wonder what your thoughts are on that.
This is a good one. Lawyers think that people expect them to have all the answers. They come to us. We think as lawyers that people come to us because we've got the solutions to all of their problems. So the moment you share something where you're not fully knowledgeable, fully experienced, don't know everything, I think that's really hard for people to admit. So I think that's part of the reason is it's like, well, if I go do something on social media, if I post a video and my laundry isn't folded in the background, or I misuse a phrase, oh, I'm going to be judged because I'm a lawyer and I'm not supposed to be like that. And I don't know that that's exclusive to lawyers, but it's probably worse with lawyers. So I think we've got expectations of ourselves. The reality is people don't actually think that about us. We think they think that about us. So I think that's probably part of the challenge is like, yeah, I'm supposed to be this, I know everything. I had somebody call me today because she wanted to sue her neighbor because the dogs are barking. And it's like, I don't know anything about that, right? I can't help you with that. So I don't know. I'm perfectly fine saying I don't even know where to point you to get help with something like that. And then I hung up the phone and thought, this is not why I went to law school.
Okay, so this is a good topic because I think early on, and especially the younger lawyers that are just starting out, they're more anxious to kind of take in whatever comes in through the door because they want to make some money. So how do you prevent yourself from going down those rabbit holes and putting out content about all of those other things that are out there that other than what you do?
Yeah, I started this. I was a door lawyer. We had a law firm for 15 years and then transitioned over to the tax strategy business. And I did it all, which I learned my lesson. So now in our new business, we started with one menu of service offering. We now have two. There are only two ways that you can hire a firm, only two things that you can hire a firm for. And yes, that will expand over time, but it's very intentional and very deliberate now. So that I just had to learn the hard way of, getting my teeth kicked in time after time after time before I realized let's focus on what I am and be very aware of what I'm not and stay in that lane.
All right, and this question is not regards to political posts. This is more just generally. How do you think about being polarizing versus being like kind of down the middle on things?
I think it's okay to be polarizing if you're doing it for the right reasons. I have no problem getting on a stage and splitting the room in half and knowing who's with me and who's not with me. I like the approach of being a magnet. Yes, magnets attract things, but the other side of that magnet also pushes things away. And I'm comfortable enough in my skin and with who I am that I'm okay with that. I'm not going to do it again just to rage bait. I'm not going to do it just as a gimmick, but I'm genuinely going to say, hey, there are a whole bunch of you in this room right now that are lighting $100 bills on fire every year to fund the government that wastes a whole bunch of your money. And there are people in there who are going to say, no, I'm okay with paying taxes, and I think the government does a great job. And look at all the benefits that it provides. They're not my people, and that's fine. Maybe I don't know if this is maturing or not, but it's the reality as I've gotten older of like I know what I want the people around me to be like and what I want them to think or be open to, and hopefully what they believe. Not that I want to influence that necessarily. And it's not that I'm opposed to contrarian views, but yeah, I think drawing a line and saying, if you're on the line, fine. But if you're way over there, stay over there, and I'm going to stay over here, and we'll both be okay with that. Or at least limiting my interaction with people like that.
All right, I only have a couple questions left, but before we get to those, what was the prize? Tell us what the prize was for the competition.
Man, all right. So the reality is I lost. I have a million excuses, which I'll save for another episode. I have to buy Christy a trophy. I have to donate, I think it was $500 to the charity of her choice, which I'm very nervous about because she and I do have different beliefs on a lot of things. And there's an event that we're both going to where I'm pretty sure I have to get up on stage and say what a great job that she did. So a lot of shame involved in this. Could it have been a $50,000 prize? Yes, but this is a million times worse than that. So,
but in that, do you still think that you won? Not the actual competition, but with the business and getting in the branding, as with branding, do you feel like you still won?
Yeah. I mean, pick any one thing in your life and do it every day for 12 weeks and you will come out better at that thing. And that's exactly what this was. So yeah, it helped the business. It helped the following. It helped the personal brand. And it's brought us other opportunities. There are other speaking engagements that I booked, other podcasts that I booked that are going to be great for us. So yeah, I don't want to say I feel like I won because I absolutely lost, but there were a lot of benefits to this. And I have such an unhealthy relationship with winning and losing that it's really hard for me to admit that. But yes, good things came of this, even though I'm not the one that's going to have the trophy on the shelf. I might order my own trophy.
As you should.
Yeah.
My good buddy, Gary Berger, we were having a competition about Google reviews and he beat me handily and he sent me a second place trophy, which I thought was pretty funny.
Brutal.
I still have the trophy. So it's pretty funny. It's like second place Google reviews or something like that. So if you were to, let's say you were to start from scratch, let's say you had zero online presence, okay? Like no audience, nothing. Where do you think people should begin in that situation?
By not reinventing the wheel. Pick the 5 or 10 accounts that you really like. Not that you're going to copy them, but we call it R&D, rip off and deploy. See what they do that you like. See what they do that works and start from there. There's people that spend a lot of time and a lot of money figuring this stuff out that you shouldn't be going in and doing it on your own, right? And the cool thing with social media is you see everything that they're doing. You can see what tactics they're utilizing that are beneficial. The other thing I would do, and I guess it depends on what you mean by starting at zero, is like, again, hiring people that have done what you're trying to do. The company that I hired took a guy from 30,000 to 130,000 YouTube subscribers in like 12 months. I'd be okay with that. And they demonstrated that they were capable of doing it. So, don't try and figure this all out on your own. You're not going to outsmart the algorithm. And there are people out there that are doing a lot more than you are that are figuring out what works. So just take it from them.
I think most people realize that, no great things really are created overnight. It takes some time to build things, but
well, successful people realize that. Unsuccessful people think it happens overnight.
Amen. That's very true. But I am curious. I mean, a year of brand building it's a lot. So what does a year full of brand building require from someone?
For me to do it properly and have it fit into my lifestyle, it requires a lot of focus. So I sat down yesterday for 2 hours and recorded, and I got a week's worth of content, and I'll see you next week. And somebody else is going to go and edit that and post it and caption it and do all of that stuff. So that's saving me a lot of time. I think the other thing is you have to be ready to not see immediate results. So yes, I'm going to keep posting and posting and posting and posting. I've put 4 YouTube videos out this week and only gained 1 subscriber. And I think you have to be ready for results not to be immediate. And I think the other part of it is now that I've seen what's possible, I was on a guy's podcast in October. He's got 1.4 million Instagram followers, and that blew up, right? We drove so much traffic to our website. We signed up a whole bunch of clients. I gained a whole bunch of Instagram followers just because I rode on the coattails of his personal brand. So
the incremental thing is really important. I'm pulling up our Maxwell numbers. So in 25, we got more. We had all of our numbers were, if you were to look at our previous 9 years or previous 8 years, I guess is what it would have been. We did more in all of our numbers last year than we did in all the previous years combined, but it still wasn't a ton. But it's like I had to learn something. It's like it's incremental growth. It's slow. Sometimes you'll see these massive spikes or whatever, but those aren't the ones you should look at. You should be looking at the consistent growth. If it's consistently going down, then that's bad. If it's consistently going up, you just need to be patient with it. So I think that's kind of interesting with because I was expecting by now we should have 15, 20,000 followers on YouTube, and it's not that how it works. It takes time to grow something, especially when we weren't really doing anything. So I think people need to really understand that patience is a big part of this.
So another a YouTube tip that I'm working on getting there is there's a way, I don't know what the phrase is, but there's a way to basically co-host a YouTube video. So for example, if we had this on YouTube, it could be on the Max Law channel, it could be on my channel, and then we both get the views and the data from that. So that would be good for you. You have so many guests on your podcast that anybody that's got a good YouTube following, I would suggest you turn on that feature.
I agree. I noticed that just today, actually. I was listening to a Diary of CEO, and I noticed that it said to subscribe. I said, well, I've already subscribed. And I clicked on it, and it was for the guests. I was like, holy hell. So I don't know how new that is. I'd never noticed it before. So
that I learned about it 3 weeks ago and thought, okay, I need that.
That's pretty handy. Yeah. All right. Let's go ahead and wrap. How do people get in touch with you if they have questions? And if you are going to be launching another one of these competitions, let people know. But how do they get in touch with you?
Yeah. On all the platforms, I am the real Adam Williams.
Look at that. That's pretty easy to remember too. So
it's better than the AOL Instant Messenger handle I had in 8th grade. It's evolved over time. So
well, Adam, thanks for sharing all of the great tidbits. Really appreciate it. Thanks for everything you've done for Max Law too. So really appreciate it. But good luck, man. Hopefully if you do the competition again, you kick her butt. Well, I'll try to support you the best I can. I'll promote your videos, everything. So
yeah, I'm committed.
All right, man. I'll see you later.
Thanks, Tyson.
If your firm feels one good decision away from a breakthrough, then this is for you. We're hosting our first mastermind of 2026 in Phoenix on February 26th and 27th. And it's 2 days designed to actually move your firm forward and grow who you are as a leader. Day 1 is a full day of hot seats where you break into groups and work through the real problems in your business. Day 2 is our wellness workshop featuring sessions that help you boost your energy, lower stress, and think more clearly. We have Jocelyn and Aaron Freeman, host of a top 10 marriage podcast and masters in psychology, teaching relationship skills that you'll use at work and at home. A lunch and learn on habit formation with Tyson, and more. View the full event details and grab your seat at maxlawevents.com.